the issue here is we've got to start from the basics. The basics are that infrastructure in East Africa is a binding constraint. It's been a problem in the past. It's increased our cost of doing business. And if you look at logistics or anything else that's happening in East Africa, the whole roads, railway, ports, I think all of that has been a serious showstopper for us in terms of our flow of goods and services. So that's where we come in from in terms of private sector to say we need to reduce the cost of doing business, we need to reduce the cost of living, and therefore when you look at that, we need to say, can we have better infrastructure where things flow? The basic bottom line is it's all demand driven. And the demand is there. The basics about the population, if you look at the pyramid, the bottom of the pyramid is going and swinging towards the middle of the pyramid, and therefore that market is growing. With that market growing, of course the top is not yet growing that much, but I think the middle is growing bigger, and that's creating a bulge in demand. And that demand is going to be more and more going forward because it's increasing, number one. Number two, it's asking for better roads, better services, better flow. And therefore, when you look at the whole of thing of flow of services, we don't have a constraint in demand. We have a supply side constraint. And that's a supply side constraint, which means infrastructure, manufacturing, goods, whatever. Now imports are growing bigger and bigger because all we do is demand's growing up. So what we do is import more because it's available elsewhere. Capacity to build infrastructure here, capacity to build our manufacturing base and everything else is limited. Especially if I talk about Kenya for power. We produce about 1,500 megawatts of energy here in Kenya. We have a plan called Vision 2030 and we envisage 15,000 megawatts by 2030. That's only 17 years, probably 16 years now to go. And we need that much power. So we have this new plan of, in 4 years, we need 5,000 megawatts done as soon as possible. We have 7,000 megawatts of power sitting in geothermal right now. It's available, it's there, all we need is a capital formation. And then the issue that's not happening is capital formation. If I go to any, with due respect to the banks, if I go to any bank today and say I want to put together, $500 million for an infrastructure project, John here will be sweating, I'm sure Tunji will sweat, all of them will sweat, all the bankers in this room will say, hey, hang on, that's too big for us. Let's talk bite size. When you want to eat an elephant, start from small legs or whatever. And that's the biggest issue we have. And therefore, I look at this as serious opportunity. Number two, I think governments have changed. Our governments have now irrevocably changed towards democracy and towards a far better constitution, far better opening up, and therefore this is not reversible. I think the changes that have happened there, the democratic space is opening up, and I think there's a lot of like-mindedness within Eastern Africa, and I think they're all following the same model of saying, let's have demand-driven growth. Therefore, again with that, I think we have a huge amount of human capital. I think you underestimate sometimes, if you come from the outside, you underestimate the amount of human capital that we have here in East Africa that is really capable and able. And actually, a lot of them have studied in the West, then come back here. So the potential in doing a lot of this is driven by demand, to lower the cost of doing business, to reduce the cost of living, and therefore, whether it's transport, airports, ports, logistics, the model that the government is following. Now, the other thing is, we need this infrastructure like yesterday. The question is, do we have the supply side to say, let's execute? Therefore, the guys who execute very fast, rapidly, are the Chinese. And you will probably see across the country here, all major infrastructure projects are currently being done by the Chinese. It's not that they've taken over, it's that we've invited them to say, you have the capital, you build it. It's called the design, build, own, operate, and transfer, and finance the projects. They are able to finance those projects and execute them, and therefore then they hand over to the government. Where banks have been lagging in terms of 6 months or 12 months to even look at a paper, these guys come in and say, contract done, execute, time bound. The Thika Road, if you see the new Thika Highway, was done in 32 months. It was a massive project, a lot of stuff to be done. The contractors, there were 3 contractors given portions of the road, and it got done on time. The past president opened it got done on time. Why? Because this monthly certificates and all that stuff that you have going through banks and getting reimbursements, the Chinese government said, we'll do it, and then we'll claim it back from the ADB, African Development Bank. So these models are new models of working, and this is what we call business unusual, where you can actually execute. The same thing in Uganda, Tanzania, and other places. Infrastructure is taken over by those who have the capacity to execute. So no more is it a matter of saying, is there an opportunity or not? There is so much opportunity. Every single challenge is an opportunity. And every single binding, that we have right now, which is a constraint, look at it as an opportunity. And I can tell you what, government cannot fund it all, and therefore budgets are limited. Therefore, they need private capital to come in. Now, innovative forms of financing, whatever works in the world, bring it out here. I know John Ngumi has been taking over most of these bonds and stuff like that, but there's opportunity for a lot of you to come out here, and I don't think it's going to crowd you out.